Professor Lakshmi to introduce our speaker, Dr. Ravishankar Shenioy.
ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಬೆಳಗಿನ ಶುಭೋದಯ. Dr. Ravishankar Shenioy graduated from SDM College of Ayurveda, Udupi in 1998. Subsequently got selected at IPGT and RA, Jamnanagar, Gujarat Ayurveda University with All India third rank. Specialized in Roga Nidana with gold medal. He has been teaching Roga Nidana at Munial Ayurveda College, Manipal since 2001 and also serving patients at OPD and IPD of Munial Ayurveda Hospital. He has a certificate, diploma in and masters in acupuncture. Worked on clinical research project on bronchial asthma and immunity. Successfully embedded Marma Chikitsa and acupuncture into Ayurveda clinical practice for maximizing treatment outcomes and simultaneously reducing financial burden. He has successfully treated several patients of chronic skin disease, liver cirrhosis, non-healing ulcer, lumbago sciatica syndrome, frozen shoulder. He is a successful clinical practitioner running a private Panchakarma center and a mini pharmacy to cater his clinical needs. He has involved himself in literary activities too, being a part of Sachitra Charaka Samhita Project 1, headed the Part 2, and also the ongoing literary projects at Munial Ayurveda College. He has chaired several scientific sessions in national and international conference and delivered guest lecturers at various conference and institutions. Thank you. Welcome, Ms.
Thank you, Ma.
Good morning, all. Before I begin, let me offer my prayers to the Almighty Om Shri Dhanvantare Namaha. As rightly, before we go into the discussions of the Ayurvedic principles or the holistic scientific approach to health, wellness, and also some aspects related with psychology. So, the initial description of health, wellness, and also the elaboration of diseases, it begins with salutations to the Almighty related to the maintenance of health and wellness, cure of diseases, and also maintaining the composure of the mind. So Ragadi Rogan Satatanushaktan Asheshakaya Prasratan Asheshan Autsukya Moha Ratidana Jagana Yo Purva Vaidyaya Namostu Tasmai. So at the onset, the author of one of the three important treatises on Ayurveda. So we have three great texts. They are described as Charaka Samhita, Sushruta Samhita, and as Vagbhata Samhita or Vahata Samhita. Again, in this Vagbhata Samhita, we have two compositions. One is Ashtanga Sangraha and the other one a short compendium as Ashtanga Hridayam. Now, Ashtanga Hridayam begins with this particular prayer. So, again, just to highlight the concept that the health basically is not only a physical sense of well-being, but it is a physical, a social, and also a mental well-being. Ayurveda describes about spiritual well-being also. Now, this has been rightly incorporated into the definitions of health as well. So, it starts with the Ragadi Rogan. Raga is desires. So, a person who is too much desireful or too much into desires develops one or the other mental aberrations or derangements from which equipoise of the mind is disturbed and the individual would develop some physical symptoms, and therefore many of the diseases as such are described under the purview of psychomotor disturbances or psychosomatic disturbances. Now these days the description of that psychosomatic diseases has partly reduced. Most of these diseases which were previously considered under psychosomatic diseases have gone into the heading of lifestyle disorders. So I will not be going much into the details of those disease aspects anyway, but it starts with this ragadi roga and continuous affliction, satatanushaktan, continuous affliction with these every now and then. Could be very small aspects. You feel hungry, you had breakfast at home, and again at 10 o'clock maybe within your duty time you feel a little hungry, you feel like munching something. You may prefer to go to the canteen and have something. There whatever you desired is not there today. You had got a feedback that something is good, and today when you go and inquire it is not there. And suddenly you start feeling a little whether you should take that other food or not. You came for something, it is not there. You had desire of something, it is not there, not available. From there your mental derangement for a brief moment of time. Now whether it continues, whether it afflicts your body, all depends upon the in-depth involvement of your mind. How the body functions, how your digestion, how your metabolism, how tissue elements, their nourishment, all these are entirely dependent upon how the mind influences on them. So you should have a control on these desires as well. Asheshakaya prasritan asheshan. Asheshakaya, not sheshakaya, it is asheshakaya. Without leaving a single part of the body. Every component of the body can get afflicted with these as an outcome of these ragadi disorders. And prasritan asheshan, whatever the morbidities we say. So Ayurveda believes in the Tridosha Siddhanta. Vata, Pitta and Kapha are responsible for normal body functions and as well as deranged body functions. So whenever we are indulging too much into psychological afflictions, or we consume certain foods that we are not supposed to consume, which may damage our health, in such conditions, these tridoshas, they may spread all over the body. So prasritan, prakrashtena, srishtan, spread all over the body. And asheshan, without again the same, leaving any particular part of the body. Autsukya, moha, arati, jagan. So anxiety, every now and then we are anxious, whether we will reach the college by time, whether we will get up in the morning by time. If at all we have an examination, then whether we will finish studying in time. So every moment we are faced with anxiety. Not only that, we are faced with states of confusion as well, whether to do or not to do. Arati, restlessness. If you have to sit continuously for half an hour, either the seating may be not comfortable, the environment may not be comfortable, so we feel restless. And one who removes all this, Yo Purva Vaidyaya, I prostrate before the Lord who helps me to relieve all this, and I bow to him, Namostu Tasmai, I salute him. So the initial prayer goes with the Lord who is able to remove off all these mental afflictions and thereby helps in maintaining the health. Now let me come to the list of contents what I will be speaking about today. So just familiarizing with certain basic concepts related with Ayurveda. We go with the definition of the concept of health. So we call it as a swasthya or as a swastha. What is this concept of wellness as elaborated in Ayurveda? For some fundamental concepts, not all the concepts, some fundamental concepts related to the diseases and also some part of elaboration related to the psychological concepts as described. So in general, whenever we refer, we Google some general books related to Ayurveda. So it's a holistic healing and a restorative science. So some also describe or define Ayurveda as a science of life. So the word Ayurveda comes from Ayu and Veda. Veda is Jnana. Ayu is again related with the life. So it is the science of life. It's a holistic science. It includes physical, mental, spiritual. So all these components related with the body. So it's a preventive, promotive and a curative aspect. The salient features of that, as already I have mentioned, it considers both the state of body as well as of mind. So in certain disease contexts, like the occurrence of a fever, jwara, it is told initially the fever may show up in the body. So shariro jayate purvam dehe manasi manasaha. Fever not only afflicts the body, but it also afflicts the mind. And that's aptly described in a lot of disease conditions, that initially whatever may be the somatic factor or the body related component, as the disease progresses, the person involves in anxiety, involves in lot of dietary and other restrictions in order to take care of his disease and health, and as a result may later suffer from mental afflictions as well. Similarly, in case of mental disorders or mental derangements also, some symptoms related with the body will later on show up. So body afflicts the mind also afflicts the body. It recommends healthy lifestyle, hygiene, diet, healthy activities, seasonal diet and certain lifestyle modifications as well. So lifestyle is described in certain diseases, especially what is told as Medo Roga or Atistaulya, obesity related conditions or dyslipidemic conditions. There are a lot of guidelines given about lifestyle modifications, how you should modify your lifestyle in order to correct the underlying disease process. Now that does not ensure a cure in all conditions, but along with the medicines, when followed, it gives you an effective management. Personalized diet and lifestyle, that is why the Western countries, especially so European nations, we get lot of interested students from Switzerland, from Germany, France, including Japan also, who are mainly interested in learning about this so-called personal diet and lifestyle. I will be elaborating certain aspects related to this. So not only personalized diet and lifestyle, we have a personalized treatment approach also. That is, if two individuals come with a set of signs and symptoms of a particular disease, our line of treatment or approach to both these individuals, in spite of having the same set of symptoms and having a similar diagnosis, would vary. So the treatment approach, the medicaments what we given, the do's and don'ts, all this can vary depending upon the individual. Then certain disease oriented recommendations of treatment, management in general, diet, lifestyle as well. Then very important, these days we have concepts gaining importance or gaining popularity are the concepts of longevity or restorative health. We call it as Rasayana. The first aspect related with the swastha. Now we have a definition of health as already told: physical, spiritual, mental, social, spiritual well-being. But in general, what is this well-being? Being in the well. So I say I am healthy, I am all is well. And then if you are ill, you say you are not feeling well, when you exactly do not know what is going wrong in the body. So the Boyd's textbook of pathology, it elaborates that not feeling well is what we call as being ill. And for an illness to be called as a disease, now illness and disease are sometimes used as synonyms. Two words conveying the same meaning. But nevertheless, the word disease is specifically used when we have a specific pathology with a specific etiological factor, a listed signs and symptoms, a specific pathogenic process, and a specific guided line of management. Now, when all these specifications are found true in a given case, we say that the person is suffering from such a particular disease. But when we are not able to label what is going wrong, the patient says he is not feeling well, but we are not able to accurately make a diagnosis, or it is falling short of a diagnosis, we say subclinical manifestations or illness. Now that is an illness, that's not a disease. So here, if we include this particular definition, sushtum nirvikaratven avatishtata iti swastaha. Sushtum properly in from all the dimensions, all the aspects whatever we can analyze in the body. Nirvikaratvena, without any abnormality. Either it could be structural, it could be functional, physiological, or whatever domains we can speak about. So if nothing is going wrong in the body, everything is going as planned and the person is at ease, then you can call him as a swastha, and tasya bhavaha, that state is called as a swasthyam, or the state of health. And specifically, again commentaries on that, now in the Samhitas, in the Sanskrit literature, in order to convey the desired meaning of the author, certain commentaries have been written, and Chakrapani's commentary is said to be the most authoritative on Charaka Samhita, where he highlights Udvejaka dhatu vaishamya virahita dhatu samyam ityartaha. There are no predisposing factors that might disturb this balance or equipoise nature of the body components. So everything is well set and there is no disturbance also. Now, why again we need to check out whether there is any disturbing factors or not? He gives an example. Yatha deepa paripalanam sneha varti danat poshanena kriyate tatha shalabha vatadi nirvapaka hetu pariharena cha. You have a burning lamp. You need a wick. You need some oil. You need a matchbox to light it. And you need a place where you do not have a lot of breeze or even the flies or insects that may be attracted to that. So if you keep the lamp open, as may be seen during the evening hours or during especially the rainy seasons, where you have a lot of these moths and all attracted to the lamp. So even that may fall on the lamp and the fire is extinguished. So not only seeing that all these components related to the burning of the lamp are proper, but external factors also have to be taken care of. Similarly, the concept of health. Not only think about the body components, think about those components that can derange them. So think about the external factors as well. So that is why we say it's a holistic approach. You consider the environment where you are living. So not only the internal factors related to the body, you think about the external factors, think about the society also where you are living. Is it conducive to you? How is your working environment? Is it conducive to you? If you are not at all satisfied in a working environment, there is no fun in working. Even though you are working what you want to do, you are in the job that you desire to be in, but if the work environment is not conducive to you, you do not enjoy the job. It's a burden. And a famous philosopher gave an example. What is meant by this burden? He says, if a mother is holding on to her child, she enjoys. But for how long? If she has to hold on to the child maybe for a few minutes, yes, she is happy to do so. But then, if it happens continuously for a few minutes, now, even if the child is sleeping, she will desire to put the child on the bed. The child is irresistible, restless, troubling, crying. Initially she pampers, later on may even hit the child. So she loses her calmness, she loses her temper. The same here as well. It becomes a burden. So whatever you enjoyed previously, now you start getting irritated. So that is what I described here. Internal factors as well as external factors have to be taken care of. Now when I spoke about the components, the body components also have been highlighted. Samadosha samagnischa samadhatu malakriyaha prasannatmendriya manaha swastha ityabhidiyate. So the functional entities in the body are the three doshas I already highlighted as vata pitta kapha. Whatever we may speak about the body functions, we can attribute it in terms of these three functions. There is no need for a fourth component. So you speak about digestion and metabolism, we say that it is pitta. You speak about stability, you speak about nutrition, we say that it is kapha. You speak about movement, you speak about diffusion, osmosis, we speak about vata. So there is no fourth component required, three doshas. Samagni. Now whatever food you take in the body, that has to be properly digested, processed, assimilated and then utilized for building up the tissue components. Now that process of digestion and metabolism is completely governed by this concept of Agni. Indirectly we can call it as the digestive fire. Samadhatu, the tissue components, we have Sapta Dhatus described in the text from Rasa, Rakta, Mamsa, Meda, Asti, Majja and Shukra Dhatu. Malakriyaha, that is the process of excretion of metabolic as well as the digestive waste. So not only digestive waste are described like the feces and the flatus, also the metabolic waste again related to individual dhatu or tissue components is also highlighted. So they have to be formed appropriately in the appropriate time and they also have to be excreted in a proper way. So if there is no excretion of these waste, if the excretory products are also not adequately formed, it means that there is some deficiency in the body. A person complaining of weakness, and when we elaborate, if at all, his blood urea levels are showing very low level or his liver function tests show that his protein levels are very low, possibly the patient is not nourished well. You ask about the nature of food that the individual consumes and accordingly you follow the management protocol. He may not need any medicines as such, he just needs a dietary advice. Prasanna Atma Indriya Manaha. Now all these physiological components are normally functioning, but in addition to that you need an equipoised mind, Prasanna Indriya or Prasanna Atma, Prasanna Manaha. Even the spiritual well-being is there. So praying, that relaxes the mind, that energizes us for our daily activities, helps to elate our moods. It gives you some self-confidence as well. Now, when an individual has all these, only then you can call him as a swastha. So, if we introspect, today morning did I wake up comfortably? Every day I wake up at 5. Today at 5 when I woke up I had a light headache. I had to snooze the alarm twice before I could get up at 5. I was not very comfortable to get up at 5. No, you are not swastha today. So you did not wake up quite healthy today. Afterwards you might have got adjusted and got occupied with your work. Somehow you managed. But then you were not at ease today morning. Not completely swastha. So as I am talking to you, I am just thinking about whether I will be able to commit to my time or finish off my talk within the stipulated time. No, my mind is diverted. I may not be fully swastha now. So now such concepts sometimes are very important, especially when we talk to patient or when we try to analyze the etiological factors for certain disorders. Lot of confusions, people come with certain confusions, people say that I am not able to concentrate, things like that. We need to consider all these aspects as well. So what is Ayurveda and what are its fundamental concepts? Now the various texts, now something related to the teaching and learning methods as well. So these days the teaching and learning methodologies have refined. More and more new measures have been done, but this existed long back. The entire Charaka Samhita or Sushruta Samhita or even Ashtanga Hridaya Sangraha for that matter, they are written down as question and answer between student and a teacher. So at the beginning of the chapter, the student asks questions and those questions they form the guide to the content of that particular chapter. At the end, it is again concluded, Bhavanti cha atra, tatra shlokaha, that is briefing, again conclusion, abstract is again given at the end. So anybody who reads that particular text with the sound knowledge of Sanskrit, now you get even English translations and transliterations as well. So reading these texts is quite easy now. So it goes on, the entire description about only the fundamental aspect in gross. तत्र चेत प्रष्टारः स्युः चतुर्णाम ऋक् साम यजु अथर्व वेदानाम कम वेदम उपदिशन्ति आयुर्वेद विदः. You say that the source of knowledge are basically four: Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda and Atharva Veda. Now we know that these are the four sources of knowledge. So to what is this Ayurveda related? Kim Ayuhu? What is Ayu? Kasmad Ayurveda? What is this Ayurveda then? Kimartham Ayurveda? Why Ayurveda? Shashvato Ashashvato Va. Now whatever the principles that are described, is it truth to all the times? Trikala Satya we say. So does it stand the test of time? Katikani cha asya angani. How many and which are its branches? Kaischa ayam adhyetavyah. Who all can study this particular science? Kimartham cha. Why they should study? It starts with a set of questions and now it's the teacher's turn to answer or satisfy the students' queries. It is a branch of Atharva Veda. And what is Ayu? Ayu initially is described as Chetana Anuvratti. Chetana, the life activities. Whatever is going, Anuvratti, continuous association of the body with these life activities is Ayu. So Ayu cannot be simply considered as a lifespan for how many years a person lives. How he lives, how well he lives, how healthy he lives, all these aspects are included. Now, Chetana Anuvratti Riti, Chaitanya Santanaha, the word Santana, it means that continuity. It is not transferred again to another individual, but at times it can be broken due to disease and other morbid factors. So, explicit and implicit life activities. You breathe. We don't breathe consciously. Neither does our heart beat consciously. We are not aware. Now, if I want to speak, it is always better to speak consciously. Unconscious speaking may not be related to the matter. You reply abruptly and then repent for what you have spoken. Or you may give inappropriate answers as well. That is without the Chetana involved. So, Chetana Anuvratti, continuation of this explicit or implicit life activity is meant by or is the meaning of this word Ayu. There is also another description, an association, an inseparable association of Sharira, Indriya, Sattva and Atma. The physical body, what we say, that is made up of the five Mahabhutas or the five basic elements we say, Prithvi, Up, Teja, Vayu and Akasha Mahabhutas. The Indriya or the various sense organs, we have Jnanendriya and Karmendriya. Then we have one Uttama Indriya or Ubhayendriya, that is the Sattva or the Mana, and then the Atma or the what we call as the Elan life principle. So the combination of all these four appropriately, that is Ayu. And when all these are combined, invariably the body shows some activities. Lack of those activities, again transiently, the previous description also I didn't go into those details. So it highlights here the Chetananuvratti is there, but then Sakshad Anupalabdhatvena yenam Anuvrattiriti bhava, Ananuvrattiriti bhavaha, na cha vachyam prasuptasya chaitanya vichchedo bhavatiti. Now you may argue again, the person is sleeping, do you see any activity? Is his hands, legs moving? Is his eye open? No. So you say that there is no Chaitanya Anuvratti. So that is why it is described as implicit and explicit activity. Implicit activities, the breathing process, the cardiac activities are all still going on. The mind may be active. We know sleep in stages, REM, NREM, all these stages are there. So some activity is still going on in the body. Not that there is no activity at all. Life activity is still going on. Only thing is explicit activities are not there. And it is a transient event. After some time he will wake up again. Veda is knowledge or jnana. So any science related with this knowledge of Ayu, that is Ayurveda. And again Ayurveda is tad Ayuhu Vedayati Bodhayati, which describes about this Ayu is Ayurveda. Now, under this aspect again, there are some aspects that are highlighted. When we speak about Ayu, Hitayu, Ahitayu, Sukhayu and Dukhayu are described. So, it is told that you need to understand what is good and what will provide comfort or health to the body. So, that is all about Hitayu and Sukhayu. Opposite of that is Ahitayu and Dukhayu. So, what is this Sukhayu? So, Tatra Sharira Manasabhyam, physical as well as mental, Rogabhyam Anabhidrutatsya, not involved or affected by diseases, Visheshena Yauvanavataha, small child always prefers to dress up like his dad. A female child would prefer to drape herself in sari, wear a bindi like her mother. So a child always desires to be a quick grown up. And at old age, the person wants again to run or walk fast like Jawani ke din. So life is all about desiring something of this youthfulness. So being able to perform all activities at your fullest energy, being fully active, independent, most important, you are independent. You don't worry, you don't go as per the desires of your children, neither do you follow the instruction of your parents when you are youthful. Middle age, that is what we are, most of us are in now. Samarthanugata balavirya yashaha. Your strength, valor, everything is as you desire. Full of activity, full of strength. Paurusha parakramasya. Valor, courage, everything. You are adequate in that. Jnana Vijnana Indriyartha Bala Samudaye Vartamanasya. All your sense faculties are also working adequately. So, not for me. If I remove the specs, I may have a difficulty in reading. Or if some are with the hearing aids, now that's not desired what is meant by this. Sukhayu. Paramardi ruchihi vividhopabhogasya samruddha sarvarambasya yatheshta vicharinaha sukhayu ruchyate. So again, where you are desireful to indulge in certain activities and you are able to do so at will. Now what sort of activities is not highlighted? It will be highlighted later. Whatever is conducive to the body, you should be indulging in. So whatever can bring good to the body, so indulge in such activities. That is mentioned under the hygienic aspects or again under conduct. So good character and conduct, there are certain rules described as sadvritta. So under that it is all highlighted. And under the concept of this hitayu, now that is something when you can indulge in whatever you desire at an appropriate level and enjoy what you are doing, that is the sukhayu. For your entire life, you should be able to maintain that, then you say that this is desired life. Hitaishinaha punarbhutanam parasvaduparatasya satyavadinaha shamaparasya parikshakarino avapramattasya trivargam parasparena anupahatam upasevamanasya pujarham sampujakasya jnana vijnana upashamashilasya vraddopasevinaha suniyata raga rosha irsha madamana vegasya satatam vivida pradana parasya tapodjnana prashama nityasya adhyatma vidaha tatparasya lokamimam cha mum cha vekshamanasya smriti matimato hitam ayuruchyate. Now, hita is again conducive. Conducive not only to the self, but to the family, to the society. So, you pay the due respect that is due to your teachers, your subordinates, your colleagues, your parents. Nobody should feel offended because of you. So don't harm others, knowingly, unknowingly. There is no harm in saying sorry when you feel that you have hurt somebody. Now, many a times, raga dvesha at the beginning, the prayer said, let me be devoid of these ragadi. Naturally, a question comes, as is the question raised by Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita as well. So, do you say that it is always bad? Not always bad. The same concept will again be highlighted when we speak about the manogunas, sattva, raja and tama. So, the text itself says, a person who is endowed with pure sattva, it becomes a level of a psychological disease wherein the person may move away from the society. People will not be able to understand him. His level is something different. The people start thinking that he is moodha, ignorant of possibly how to live in this society. So, living in the society, living within our limitations, now there again it highlights that this tama and rajas is again needed. You should be able to control it. When raja increases, raja is described as the rosha factor, which makes you feel angry, increases the level of hatred and things like that. Raga, dvesha, matsara, all that is due to the raja bhava. Tama bhava is what takes you into ignorance, lack of knowledge, states of confusion. All those are because of tama, but that needs to control the component of sattva. Sattva is controlled to some extent by raja and tama. Too much of sattva also is not good. That is what the text highlights. Even Shri Krishna describes in that particular context. So here it is again highlighting the same aspects. Some aspect of that. So even we say anger is good or bad, depends. Though anger to the optimum level, so at the right place, right person, right time, right quantity, it is all justified. 8 branches of Ayurveda have been described. We call it as Ashtanga Ayurveda. So, Kaya Chikitsa, that is something related with internal medicine. Shalakya, we have incorporated that eye, nose, throat and ear, nose, throat and eye diseases also under Shalakya. So, ENT and eye. Then, Shalya is related with the surgery. Visha, Gara, all that is related with the toxicology. Bhuta Vidya related with the obstinate practices. Again, it is described in Atharva Veda. Kaumara Bhratya, pediatrics, and that includes OBG and gynec as well. Prasuti, Stri Roga. Rasayana and Vajikarna are 2 components. So, geriatrics and aphrodisiac. So, altogether 8 branches, they are mentioned, but we don't have elaborate description of them in a single compendium or a single text or a chapter separately. So, it is not, we only gather the scattered references appropriately described. Now, this concept of Rasayana is about rejuvenation. Many a times physicians prefer to give a tonic after the cure of the disease, that is a health restorative. So, Rasayana is all about maintaining the age or maintaining youthfulness, preventing the diseases. So, preventive and promotive aspect. Vajikarna includes not only aphrodisiacs, it is also about the management of infertility. So, various andrologic sciences all are included under Vajikarna. And this entire disease descriptions, whatever are there, they are studied basically under what is known as 3 skanda or 3 pillars of the science. So, Hetu, Linga and Aushadha. Hetu, the etiological factors, the lakshanas or the symptoms, and then the management. So, whatever diseases are described in the text are all studied from this particular aspect. And when it comes to Hetu or the causative factor, there is a link between this Hetu and the functional aspects that are related to promotion of health. Now, many a times, so Ayurveda is not usually described. If you look into the Wikipedia or so, not a very good remark about Ayurveda on the net. So, not well proved, not justified, things like that. You get even bad terminologies or even worse terminologies than what I have used, which I don't want to use here. But then how do we justify that Ayurveda is scientific? If we observe all those traditional knowledge systems described or in practice since long in India, and if you look into the dictionary meaning of what is a science, a systematic study of structure, behavior of the physical and natural world through observation, experimentation, testing of theories against evidences obtained. So ultimately whatever is tested, and there has to be some relationship between the observed phenomena, you should be able to relate it to something, and on experimentation you should be able to prove that yes, if this is there then the other thing also is true. If you are able to establish a cause and effect relationship, that is what Ayurveda advocates. A cause and effect relationship or karya karana vada or karya karana bhava, it should be there. If you see a cause, you should be able to tell an effect or predict an effect. If you are seeing an effect, you should be able to predict what was the cause, or you should be able to at least tell that this is the appropriate cause for your disease. If yes, or whatever is told in the text, if you can apply it in a real life situation on a patient, then it is a science. However, many of the sciences that have developed all around the globe, forget about Indian systems, had a very close relationship with the prevailing religious and other customs of that particular place. That is what the various scholars also opine. A close relationship between the science and religion existed. That is how the modern science also has developed. So we know that initially to climb up, you need the help of a stairs. Once you are on the stairs, then you push on the floor, then you push the stairs. No longer you need that step because you have reached a higher height. You search for something else now. So this is how it has evolved. Science then left out religion, tried to become independent in the name of being too much advanced. But it developed out of religion or along with the religion itself. Now Ayurveda likewise is also a science that has evolved out of a keen observation. So all sciences, so during that time, anything that was based on an observation, any science that evolved out of observation was called a Darshana Shastra. So we have Sankhya philosophy, Vaisheshika, Nyaya and various philosophies that have evolved, and then Ayurveda also coexisted along with these philosophies. And what was the source of obtaining knowledge or jnana? It was pramanas. Prama means yathartha jnana, a factual knowledge, getting a perception as it is. And pramanas are the tools that help to get prama or yathartha jnana. So yathartha jnana or prama is obtained by pramanas. We have various pramanas described in the Ayurveda text as well. Aptopadesha, that is the textual knowledge. We believe that whatever is written down or documented, whether codified or uncodified, decodified, it is all based on keen observation and years of observation. Pratyaksha, you apply the principles now in the real life situation, you find that it works true even today. Anumana pramana, in certain conditions, you don't go with the direct observation, but you have to follow inference. And yukti is you have to use your own logic. No patient comes with complaints as described in the text. Even this is true from the modern science today. So if a patient comes with a mild abdominal pain, a low grade fever, and you do investigations, investigations may show that it's a Vidal or a Vidal test positive. And today most of us know that Vidal test positive. Vidal test is a confirmatory test for typhoid fever. But then there is something called as an anamnestic response. A pseudo positivity can also arise. Sometimes the test can be negative in spite of having a positive typhoid infection. So how do we understand that? You look at the other parameters. Look into the blood profile, the WBC profile, and then you will be able to possibly consider that this is not actually a case of typhoid. So unnecessarily don't load the patient with the medicines for typhoid fever. So whatever we believe or we have read will always not be true. You have to use your logic. That is why I said every patient is different and every patient needs to have a personalized approach. Other than these pramanas, we also have upamana pramana and aitihya pramana, history. Something what we gain by experience. So given a chance, you have a very senior experienced physician and another fresh graduate, and given a chance you will prefer to go with the experienced physician rather than a new one, though he may be updated in the current practices. So itihasa or history gives us a lot of information. Here also the past history, the experience, that is very, very important. That also adds to the knowledge pool. The fundamental concepts already highlighted. So you have three doshas, that is called Sharirika dosha, and then we have Manasika dosha as Sattva, Raja and Tama. The functionality of the psychic domain or Manasa bhavas and the Sharirika bhavas or the physiological domain. Now, in the course of evolution, I told you Ayurveda also is a Darshana Shastra. It evolved along with the Sankhya, Vaiseshika philosophies. So, Pancha Mahabhutas, the 5 fundamental elements for creation of each and every materialistic or a non-materialistic object. So, we have Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Jala and Prithvi in the order of evolution. So, the Upanishads describe Tasmadva, Etasmadva, Atmanah, Akashah Sambhutah, Akashad Vayuhu, Vayu Agnihi. Then comes Jala and Prithvi, and Prathvibhyam Oshadayah. And then there is also one more description of what is known as Bhutanupravesha. So whatever the qualities of Akasha, they can also be seen in the next stage of evolution, that is Vayu, and also in Agni and in Jala and Prithvi. So Prithvi basically will have the attributes of the other 4 as well. So when plants, Aushadhi or plants which are used as medicines, they evolved, they invariably had a combination of all these. Humans also evolve in a similar manner. So that is why whenever a person dies, we say Panchatvam Gatayaha. He has gone into Panchatva, again he became 5. His respective components will again decompose and become one with these 5 basic elements. So the moment Chetananuvritti ceases, the person again becomes one with these 5 elements. So now that's the fundamental aspect why we use various medicines and how we plan. Sarvam dravyam panchabhautikam asmin arte. All components are a mixture of these 5 elements. Dominance of one or the other is definitely there. Anena upadeshena na anaushidhi bhutam jagati kinchid dravyam upalabhyate tam yuktim artham cha tam abhipretya. Now based on these guidelines, hittala gida maddalla, we have a lot of these quotations. Now from where did it all come? Even if you have thrown some plant as a weed or waste, a knowledgeable person has an ability to use that also as a medicine. So there are at least about 16 clotting principles found in the communist plant thrown as a weed. Parthenium also has likewise wound healing properties. So they are proved in animal experiments. So any plant based on yukti, logic of the physician, it can be used as a medicine in appropriate conditions. Nothing is useless. There is an interrelationship between these 3 doshas and Pancha Mahabhutas. So all body components accordingly have dominance of one or the other of these 5 elements. So Vata dosha, it is dominant of Vayu and Akasha Mahabhuta, Pitta of Agni and Ap Mahabhuta, Kapha is dominant of Prithvi and Ap Mahabhuta. Now when we plan medicines, especially when we are planning single herbal drugs as remedies for certain disease conditions, we prefer to utilize this particular concept. Similarly, all the herbs, all the food substances what we consume, they are said to have these 6 tastes. So Ayurveda believes in 6 tastes. Recently the last 2, they were added into that, the last 2 in the sense the pungent and the astringent. So sweet, sour, salt and bitter were the 4 predominant tastes described. Recently again separate taste buds for the other 4 and 6 are also found. Now this particular concept, till the days when I was studying, no much taste receptor concept was understood. So taste means taste buds. So in the mouth, whenever you put, you may feel sweet, salt, bitter, or whatever it is, and accordingly you predict the taste of the substances. But then these days, it is found that whatever the sweet related receptors are there, they are not only present on the tongue, they are present in blood cells, especially WBCs. They are present in adipose tissue. They are present in muscle tissue. They are also present in the bones. They are present in the reproductive tissues also. And if we look into the functions of Madhura Rasa or Madhura Skanda, that is all those substances having sweet as a predominant taste, it says Sarva Dhatu Poshakaha, it nourishes all the dhatus. Lot of other functions including the exhilaration of the mind. So when you eat something sweet, you feel good, that sense of goodness prevails. May not be for all, those who do not like sweet or who are diabetic, of course by habit they may have a hatred for sweet, but otherwise that's true. Similarly, when you look into the bitter component, the bitter receptors are predominantly present in the osteogenic tissue, cartilages and bones, also in the joints. And in Ayurveda, whenever an individual, a patient comes with a degenerative condition or an inflammatory disease related to the joints, conditions like osteoporosis, osteomalacia, dysplasias of bone and cartilage, we usually prefer to administer bitter substances by way of ghee or milk. This ghee or milk is said to be an adjuvant, just like a targeted drug delivery system, what we speak in today's pharmacological perspectives. So at the time when possibly they had written this, whether they were aware of that, we don't know in what way they interpreted, but today we are able to find that whatever they have written down, whatever they have observed, it makes perfect sense. We have administered these medicines in the form of medicated enemas. It is told, if you want to administer medicine or if you want to see that the medicine reaches the level of rasa and rakta, you administer it by oral route. If you want to see that the medicine reaches mamsa and meda dhatu, you go through the transdermal approach. Now that is various forms of massage applications, lepa, what was practiced that time. Today we have transdermal patches. You want to reach to the level of asti, majja and shukra dhatu, you go by way of enema, the perrectal route. You want any medicine to reach substantially cross the blood-brain barrier, you administer it by way of nasya, erins or nasal therapy. We administer oil-based medicines by the nasal route. And these researchers today have proved that whatever the modalities of administration of medicine, it perfectly makes sense. The maximum concentration or targeted drug delivery can be achieved with whatever modes of administration that are highlighted in the text. Now these three rasas, sweet, sour and salt, they are very good in pacifying vata dosha or diseases related with vata. Any patient who comes with pain related to the joints, we say it is sandhigata vata, and then joint related vata disease, we administer even madhura rasa. In terms of the medicines that we prepare, there are some oils like dhanvantara taila, mahanarana taila and so on, prepared with substances having predominant taste of madhurata or sweetness. Bitterness also is used in appropriate context, but when we apply lepa along with bitter, we see that there is also some amount of oil, or also we add some amount of lemon juice into it so that it acts better. So we had a comparative analysis of not using these three tastes predominantly in whatever lepa applications we do in case of joint pain. the result was somewhat very low compared with the other group. The pungent, bitter and astringent tastes, they again aggravate vata, or they are very good in kaphaja disorders. So you want obesity management, you have to follow predominantly these three tastes. Don't indulge in sweet. Don't take sour substances. Don't take salty substances also. You go for these three tastes. And if at all it is a pitta related individual, then madura is there, katu is there and tikta is there. So kashaya, tikta and madura, you go with the management of these three tastes. Now I spoke some aspect related with the doshas. Now many times what happens, the fundamental principles say that these doshas have a primary connection related to your gut. So whenever you consume food, these three doshas, they show some variations. So diurnal variations in the three doshas happens continuously. It varies with the time of food intake and digestion. So it is told as vayo ahoratri bhuktanam te anta madhya adigaha kramat. So kapha dominates. As soon as you take food, you feel lethargic. You feel heaviness in the body. All those are symptoms of kapha. Maybe after 45 minutes to 1 hour, you may feel that pitta related symptoms dominating. That is when your process of digestion is active. People complain of that burning sensation or whatever more during that particular time. And once your stomach is empty, for some individuals, they start feeling weak. Occasionally some tremors when they have a prolonged fasting and all. Now that is vata kala. Similarly, early morning is kapha kala. Early morning, people sometimes have a lot of sneezing, some phlegm coming on into the throat and all. That is the morning kala, time for kapha aggravation or provocation. Midday is pitta kala and late evening is vata kala. That is when people say that I feel lot of flatulent, I have a lot of flatus passing. Now that is the evening time when vata dominates. You feel some body ache or fatigue and all. Not during the early morning, but usually during the evening hours. Similarly, the night also is divided into these three times, kapha kala, pitta kala and vata kala. And whenever these doshas are showing a variation in the gut, that is considered to be the primary site, just like you see here, even if the vessel is put at the top, not directly over the flame, the heat can cook the whatever the content in the vessel. The heat radiates. Similarly, the effects of these doshic aggravation can be seen elsewhere in the body as well. So, vanhi ukagatam iva odakam swatejasa. So, you have taken a heavy food. Many a times people say, I just had food and after that my joint pain aggravated. If I eat these specific foods, within 10-15 minutes, I start feeling increased joint pain. Now the food has still not got digested. It is still in the process of digestion. So how eating the food without getting digested will cause an increase of the joint pain? Now that is what this concept highlights. So whatever influence is there on the gut, that can affect at the level of the tissues as well. The components, how much of functional entities or what should be, is there any proportion described for these functional entities in the body? No, it varies from every individual or in every individual. Vailakshanyat shariranam asthayitvat tataivacha doshadatu pramanam tu doshadatu malanam tu parimanam na vidyate. You cannot have a stereotyped approach. This much should be the quantity of this particular tissue in this individual. No. Lot of variations, even in an individual from time to time, even in an individual from in regards to his age, in regards to the food that he consumes, in regards to his activities, everything, lot of factors are there which can cause a variation. So there is no specific quantity what you can highlight for all these components. Yesham samatvam yachapi bishakbhi avadaryate na tat swasthyadrite shakyam vaktum anyena hetuna. So how do you decide? You look into the symptoms of swasthya, whether these entities are functioning normally or not. You look into the symptoms as described. If at all the symptoms are there, the patient is feeling comfortable, it means that they are all functioning normally. If at all there is a derangement in any of the function, you are not, every day morning you eat 2 dosas, today also you ate 2 dosa, but then after you came you started feeling some heaviness in the stomach, some belching. So it is the same dosa that you ate every day. What happened today? Something went wrong. So vailakshanyat, there is a variation again. Based on that variation, you say that not everything is right today. So how do you assess? It is based on the symptoms. Anumana. You have to infer that some symptoms are not normal. So somewhere something is wrong. And then you try to logically assess what went wrong. So aprasannendriyam viksha purusham kushalo bishak. So a kushala bishak or a physician would be able to assess what exactly went wrong by considering his state of unpleasant mood or unpleasantness in performing his routine activities as well. Now, I said some aspects about doshas, I said some aspect about food. Now, 3 components are said to be very much important. They are also described as the 3 pillars. So, ahara, shayana and brahmacharya or celibacy. Ahara, food, shayana or sleep. So, food is the basic prerequisite. Whatever the energy we need, all comes by way of food. Nutrition, body growth, nourishment. Even when we speak about ATP, energy for various activity also, that should be coming from the food. And the body, whatever works throughout the day, that will regenerate only if you have the proper sleep. So for refreshing sleep, what you call as a refreshing sleep, if you need a refreshing sleep where your body components have to refresh, get ready for the next day's work, it is very essential that you sleep at the appropriate time. Today, many of us have a habit of sitting late night because we cannot get up early in the morning. So we make a habit of late night sitting, studying, doing some work, and morning comfortably 6 or 7 we will be getting up. But then the principles of health say that based on the old, when all this electricity possibly was not there, once it is dark, before that you finish off your food, talk for some time, sit, by 8:30 you sleep, and early morning you can get up at any particular time. So 4:30, 5 o'clock people used to get up, that was the olden days. Now at least we should make a habit of getting up 30 to 45 minutes before sunrise, 5:30. And again researchers have proved that the release of melatonin and serotonin, all these hormones which help the normal restoration of the body, again Nobel Prize received for the circadian rhythm also by the Japanese scientists, growth hormone, all these restorative hormones whatever are released, they are released somewhere in between 2 and 3, somewhere around 2 to 3 a.m. and at least about 4 hours after we have fallen asleep. So if you sleep at 11 and 12, these 4 hours will be past 4 o'clock in the morning. Hardly there is a chance. Now body tries to adjust. It is just described similar to that of a frog kept in hot water or kept in a water vessel containing water and then slowly heated. So initially the frog somehow sustains the temperature, gets adjusted, and when the temperature reaches a threshold where it cannot tolerate, it cannot jump out of the water or the vessel also because it is already exhausted trying to balance with the external environment. Our body state is likewise. So lot of psychosomatic disorders, lot of lifestyle disorders are simply because we don't respect the time of sleep. So it is again a well-known fact that 1/3 of our lifespan is spent in sleep alone. That again justifies how important sleep is. Celibacy or brahmacharya, that is again specifically related with the sexual habits. In general concepts, the word Brahma is Jnana and Charya is all activity related with Brahma Jnana or acquiring knowledge. But here in this particular context, the commentator specifies it as sexual indulgence. Again, the amount of sexual indulgence by an individual, that also has to be regulated. If you have an excessive sexual drive, remember to take aphrodisiacs, otherwise your body will get depleted. That is what it highlights. So there has to be a balance of your food. Too much is too bad again, too less also is not good. Sleep likewise. Similarly, the celibacy also has to be maintained. Now, regarding the concepts related with wellness, there are certain concepts highlighted in the form of dinacharya, how you should be spending your day, do's and don'ts. Ratricharya, the way you act after the sunset. And that again varies according to the seasons also. How much time there has to be a gap before you retire to the bed, between your food and the time of retiring to the bed. Ritucharya, that is seasonal variations and how to adapt to these particular seasonal changes. What should be your diet and lifestyle appropriate to the seasonal changes. And that also incorporates something what is known as Rutu Shodhana, purificatory therapies, or we say Panchakarma or Shodhana therapy in relation to certain Rutus, in order to maintain the balance of doshas so that you don't suffer from seasonal ailments. And then Sadvrata, or the code of conduct as well. There is something called as Achara Rasayana. So without which there is a easy tendency for going into mental confusions, or a sense of guilt may develop. It is described that the doshas vary according to seasons. So there is something called as 3 phases of doshic aggravation: Chaya, Prakopa and Prashama we say, or accumulation, aggravation and the self-pacification. It gets appeased by itself. Vata dosha, it aggravates in the late summer. In the southern part of India, mostly it will be somewhere around the May. When we say it is actually summer, it will be the Grishma or the Pravrat Rutu we say. Varsha actual June, July up till August. Sharad is later part of August and September. So it's the season of Vata aggravation mainly during this rainy season. So it is during the period of May and June that we get maximum patients of stroke, paralytic patients admitted into the hospital, all fresh cases. And statistics of various hospitals all over India. In southern India, it starts early by say May end or June. Northern part, it usually goes with July, at least a month later after South India. And this is again in relation with whatever is described in the text, that is the Vata Kala, time for aggravation of Vata related conditions. Even patients who had joint pain, sciatica like conditions, all they show aggravation during this season only. Pitta Kala again dominant during Sharad Rutu or the early part of winter, somewhere around this Navaratri and before that, Deepavali time and all, we do get related conditions of Pitta. Kapha Kala during almost February, somewhere now before the extreme summer starts, we have all these Kapha related conditions as well. Now, what is the importance of knowing all this? It is expected that most of us, now not all of them will have doshic aggravation to that extent as to suffer from diseases. But variation in the level of dosha, some symptom manifestations will definitely be there. If we don't want to suffer from these, or if we say, now there is another particular component which I have not included in the slides because that itself is a very vast topic, that is something related with what is known as one's own body constitution. We call it as Prakriti. I think many of you may be aware because recently our NCISM, Department of Ayush, had given us a task, the Ayurveda colleges, to the faculty and the students to visit as many public and it was a public outreach program, DKPP, Desh Ka Prakriti Parikshana Abhiyan. So from November 26 to December 25th it was launched and then extended till Jan also. So assessment of one's own Prakriti, it helps us to know ourselves better. According to our body constitution, what type of food and what type of activity is desirable. So the text very specifically says, if you are Kapha Prakriti, you can do heavy exercise. If you are Vata Prakriti, don't overdo exercise. If you are Pitta Prakriti individual, never do exercise in the hot season. Now this is all written in the text, not something from what we know today. It is written long back. Kapha Prakriti individual can do good amount of exercise until he feels fatigue as well. But for Vata Prakriti individual, he has to do it in moderation. And what is this moderation? When you just feel that you have sweat trickling on your forehead, or you feel sweat on your body, or you feel a wetness in your armpits, this is the sign that you have reached the threshold. After that, it will be heavy. And for Pitta person, it says even before you start sweating, you stop the physical activity. This again has to be considered in accordance to all these seasons. During summer season, prefer not to do exercise. If you want to do it early in the morning. Winter season, you can do it at any part of the day. Rainy season, again, it is likewise. Any part of the day, but not for an Pitta Prakriti individual. There is a risk again of developing some metabolic or digestive disturbances as well. So, whatever the knowledge of this seasonal variations, the doshas that aggravate in season in accordance with the Prakriti, we give them a personalized diet and lifestyle plan in order to stay healthy and disease free. Now Vata aggravates during Varsha Ratu. This is said to be the ideal time for various enema treatments. It says Basti Chikitsa is the best for Vata related conditions along with the body massage and various forms of steam. So it is described Vata Syopakramaha, Snehaha, Svedaha, Samshodhanam, Mrudu. That's the massage, steam and then mild form of purificatory processes like enema. Pitta during the Sharad Rutu, that is when we advocate Virechana. Now Karkataka Masa, people who are linked with the Kerala tradition, it's very popular in Kerala. People take a leave during that time, get admitted into private hospitals or even government hospitals to take a treatment of body purificative and regenerative processes. So that is a health restorative, and that's usually done in this Sharad Rutu, soon after the rain. And Kapha is the spring or then the late winter time, somewhere around February or so, we administer the emesis or what is called as Vamana treatment. Now that is not only for those who have diseases, but also it's a concept of maintaining health, that is called Rutu Shodhana. Purificatory processes in accordance with. Now naturopathy has very simple plans for achieving such a target. It describes about saline enemas. You don't have to go with medicated enemas that will cost you for an entire course, it may cost you about 5,000 to 6,000 rupees. Instead, you can go for saline enemas also as per the principles of naturopathy. For Pitta related conditions, they advocate Vamana Dhauti, Vastra Dhauti, so wherein you take salt water and then you vomit out. You swallow a lubricated cloth material, soft cloth material swallowed and then it is pulled out. Now this removes much of the Pitta condition and also the Kapha related condition. So Vamana Dhauti, Vastra Dhauti, that is done to remove the Kapha. Similarly for Pitta, it is again drinking salt water wherein you can even vomit or you can even purgate after that. So 1 to 1.5 hours after having saline water, you will have loose stools. So that achieves the removal of Pitta. So easy medicines are available, easy management is available. Otherwise also when we don't want very costly medicines. Highlight of food. Now after we saw Ahara, Shayana and Brahmacharya is there. Ahara, very important component. Now how much of food has to be consumed? Which type of food has to be consumed? When to consume food? When do we usually consume food? Morning, it's the time for breakfast. So 8:30 my bus will come or I have to start so that I reach the college by 9. So at 8 I have breakfast. When do I have lunch? 12 to 1 is the lunch break or 1 to 2 is lunch break. So I eat at 1. And night, when do you have dinner? Once my work is over, then at 8:30 or 9:30, or for some, like in Metropolis, they come back at 10 or 11 and then they have their dinner by 11, 11:30, sometimes even late as a 12 or 1. Now, here, again, the time of having food also is specified. When you eat only when you feel hungry, that is the principle. If you are not feeling hungry appropriately, that means something is wrong, try to take care of it. So either, and it is very clearly highlighted, don't overdo fasting, don't overdo eating also. So the quotation says, na abhojanena kayagni deepyate na ati bhojanat, yatha nirindano vannihi alpo va ati indana vrataha. So when you are igniting a fire, you start from paper or a grass, whatever is light and easily gets ignited. Then you go with fire logs and progressively the temperature increases. If suddenly you pour even 1 liter of petrol also on a small fire, matchbox thing, it may go off. So fuel also, when administered or given in a right way, you can ignite the fire. Similarly, the food that has to be digested, you give it appropriate to your ability. So all these benefits like complexion, satisfaction, your voice, your life, everything, your nourishment, state of mind, everything is dependent upon the food. When you say food, it says without that proper digestive mechanism, that is without Agni in the body, whatever good quality of food you have consumed is a waste. So without Agni, so annapana indanaihi agnihi jvalati vyeti cha anyatha. You don't give food, it is going to get extinguished or it is going to get weak. Appropriately keep on feeding this particular Agni, and that will help you to maintain your strength, health, your ayu, your even prana, all life activities. And because we have to give so much importance to the food, it is highlighted that ahara sambhava vastu, rogascha ahara sambhavaha. The body is basically formed from the food that we consume. You are what you eat. So as it is described, the body is formed from the food, and so also are the diseases. So if you consume food that is rightful for you, you remain healthy. If you consume food that is not conducive, not right for you, you will also fall ill or you will suffer from diseases. So health is based on food. Your disease states are also based on food itself. So hita hita visheshacha visheshaha sukha dukha yoho. Whether it is hita to you, you are ending up with sukha. If it is ahita, you end up with the dukkha, and dukkha is nothing but diseases or roga. Now, having said that there is something called as hita ahara and ahita ahara, we see a lot of people indulging in food, roadside food, fast food, but they don't fall ill. We follow the regular diet pattern, and then for a change, once if we eat even in a hotel, though it is a healthy food, we suffer a lot of discomfort. Now, that is again individualized. We cannot consider that I am like him or he should be like me. Not possible. So these are all deviations from the general concepts. So tasmad hitahara upayogino api drishyante vyadimantaha. So even if you are consuming what is good to you, sometimes you fall ill. Ahitahara upayoginam punaha karanato na sadhyo doshavan bhavati apacharaha. Some people who take this fast food, junk food, they don't fall ill. But then, na sadhyo doshavan bhavati. They may not fall ill at the moment, but some ill effects definitely will happen in the body. This I gave you the example of a frog in hot water. Your body has got a very good compensatory ability. It tries to compensate. For mild things, nothing goes wrong, but even that mild, when it is taken for a very long time and it goes beyond the threshold of the body to compensate, then these compensatory mechanisms itself can cause sometimes a lot of disturbance. unwantedly your body energy is getting diverted in a wrong direction. So nahi sarvani apathyani tulya doshani. Now you are having some junk food. All the types of junk foods may not be equally able to produce any sort of a disease. Its ability or its capacity for the body to tolerate these forms of junk food will also vary. Nacha sarve doshaha tulya balaha. May induce some variation in the body, but the extent of variation will vary again from individual to individual, from the food consumed, from the time of consumption, etc. Sarvani sharirani vyadikshamatve samarthani bhavanti, na cha sarvani sharirani. All the body also may not be able to tolerate these non-conducive food to the same extent. So that is also highlighted in the text. That is why we have a concept, something known as Ekanta Hita. For me, something is good. Ekanta, Eka is a person, good to a person. Ekanta Ahita, not good or not conducive to a person. Anekanta Hita, not good to many people, no, good to many people. And Anekanta Ahita, not good to many people. So some foods, they have this exception. Based on a personalized approach, Vata Prakriti or Kapha Prakriti or Pitta Prakriti, anything, you say that this type of food should not be consumed. Or if an individual has a specific predilection, you say this is not good for him, but for others it is okay. For a given set of symptom, you say that now if at all you are supposed to have tender cucumber, you say he is having more of Kapha Pradhana Prakriti, so he will develop some symptom of Kapha aggravation, cold, sneezing, things like that. So better Kapha Prakriti people avoid tender cucumber. It is ideal for Pitta. For Vata, you just check out if at all he can tolerate. If he tolerates, he can use that. But for Kapha, a definite no. For Pitta, a definite yes. And for Vata, in between. Now, these concepts also have a lot of similarities with the concepts of homologousness as is described. So, now ability to tolerate a disease also varies from individual to individual. Vyadikshamatva is that component of immunity that varies from individual to individual. Do we have a break now?